Abusua be 1 week ago and a babon say former finance minister at Ghana Ken Ofori Atta odu ani chirem e USA mem ho a ye detain no na sisi ame no kasa yisi ani de ambassador to USA at Ghana and no ambassador Victor Smith and all the update e dey afa Ken Ofori Atta sisi no ne nyoma and also ekoso e wo man ni ne USA mo na abusua otie nsem a eno ambassador Victor Smith eka e dey fa Ken Ofori Atta ho a na chasa ne nsem ni de abusua na no odene pa na latest ne nyoma kra ye tete no say nya chese Ken Ofori Atta nkwa ana mpedifo so etimi detain no edi free USA de yete say ne mane ne yere kra no so ho bom wo mu a na no so enya asem koto akra nti de yenko ne ekotie eno ambassador Victor Smith or ambassador to USA erema Ghana no nchiremu and update or the ababontene efa former finance minister your friend Ken Ofori Atta yenko ne ekotie.
I got to know about the arrest on the 7th of January, very early hours of the morning, when I got a call from, I think I actually got a call from a friend. I wasn't sure, so I called the Attorney General, Mr. Ayine, Dr. Ayine, and he confirmed that the FBI had been in touch with him, that they picked up the former minister and one other. And we talked a little bit, and he was always in the picture, when it wasn't, the ICE did the picking up, but the FBI were also involved. If you recall, we had I'm not sure whether you know that one, but we had an extradition request from the government of Ghana, which we passed on to the Department of Justice. This was on the 29th of December. And I believe that acting on the request, they moved in on our brother Ken.
So that is a very important clarity. First, that the FBI was involved, and second, that based on your briefing, this particular arrest may have something to do with what he's wanted for in Ghana and their extradition.
I suspect so. The ICE did the arrest, but a few hours ago, I was also informed the FBI were involved. And of course, that sort of corroborated with what the Attorney General told me, that the FBI had informed him that they had picked him up.
Okay.
So
were you
I
also,
suspect.
Yeah, you suspect. You suspect that.
I suspect it's a combination of these two factors. ICE normally would pick you for immigration issues.
Okay.
But then, of course, when the FBI comes in, then there must be some criminality or Interpol police request. So the red alert comes in there. So the combination of the two of them, convinces me that Ghana government had requested for this man to be brought in to help us, if you like, unravel some issues that have been brought against him as a former minister.
Were you also briefed about the revocation of his valid visa?
No, Attorney General mentioned that to me. The extent of my involvement at this stage was when he had been picked up. I discussed it with the consular officers of my embassy, and we decided to make a request to make sure that he was being treated properly as the protocols, international protocols. And so we requested, and they agreed in principle to allow us to come and visit. But just before we set out, the ICE people came again and said the detainee had refused to meet with us without his lawyers. That was the initial response from the detention center. And they were going to go back to him and probably request that his lawyers appear so we can come and verify for ourselves that he's being treated fairly and not being denied, for instance, his medication and all that. But we waited for a while. After about a few hours, they came back to us to say the detainee, being the ex-minister, had refused now to see us under any circumstance. So that was the end of the road for me and the embassy.
So the consular officers didn't even manage to get to the detention facility. This was all a phone conversation with yourselves and the ICE.
No, they came. The ICE came here. The representative came to my office. And they had indicated initially in the phone conversation that they had cleared the way for us to go. So I got myself ready with my consular officer. And just before we set off, the consular officer walks into my office and says, the ICE people are here. And I said, are we leaving? He said, no. They said there's a problem. So I invited them to my office. And they said this to me, that the detainee is unwilling to have us visit him without his lawyers. And therefore, they asked me to hold on until they're able to sort out the lawyer's presence, with him. After about 2-3 hours, they came back and said he was adamant. He wasn't going to now, under no circumstance, did he want to see us.
How did you react to that?
Well, a bit of a disappointment because I know Ken personally. He may not be my friend, but I know him personally. And nobody had visited him at the time the ICE were discussing this with me. And I found, as being a Ghanaian and being our responsibility, so to speak, in a host country, I felt that if we had had the opportunity to at least hear about if he had some concerns for us to probably try and assist in that respect. So shutting the door in our face and not wanting to see us under no circumstance was a bit unfortunate.
I mean, since this incident, have you had any further information about the conditions of his detention?
Yes. The ICE people confirmed that he was all right. Initially, they had medical people to determine whether he was fit to be held in the detention center, and they were convinced and were sure that he was okay. He was on medication, but he wasn't seeing any doctor at the time. And he had his medication, so he could be put in the detention center.
So in other words, since he was arrested, the ICE itself had examined him to determine whether he was medically fit to be in detention.
Well, they had caused for him to be, assessed by the medical personnel, not themselves. Because I've been to one of those detention centers before. They have very, very fully manned medical center for the detainees. So they just, one thing I like about the ICE's approach is that they don't want people to put stories on them. So they were very welcoming and saying that come and see for yourself, so you can be a witness whether we have done anything, towards the detainee. And so I respected what they had said to me, that he had been assessed and was given the all green, to be held in that detention center. If he had any serious medical conditions, maybe they would have referred him into a medical facility outside the detention center.
Do you know if Ken Ofori Atta was in the US at the time of his arrest with his family? Because we know the building. If you see the screen there, at least Manasseh has given us a bit more detail about where he was arrested and where he was staying. I'm pretty sure you would have that information too. Do you know any other details around who he was with, where he was staying, and what may have happened on that particular day?
The ICE gave me the information that he was picked up from his home.
Okay.
They were very clear about that one. They did not have any doubts about it, that we took him from his home.
Do you know if he was staying alone or he was with family?
I wouldn't know that. They didn't tell me that one.
Okay. This obviously is not something you are alien to. I mean, we've seen the numbers. At least there are almost 200 Ghanaians who may also currently be facing challenges such as this. Is this different from what you're used to? Does the Ken Ofori Atta, former finance minister, his status and profile, has it changed anything for you in terms of what you know happens in these matters? Or this is very normal from what you become used to?
Well, they view Ken Ofori Atta as a high-profile case. That they have made it clear to me.
Okay.
Because he was an ex-finance minister, and even though there was an extradition, they knew, dealing with the Attorney General in Ghana, that this is a high-profile personality. And his visa issues, I can't go into it because I didn't know, but I know one thing, that if your visa expires, normally they give you 6 months visa when you enter the US with a 5-year B1, B2 visa. So they would grant you 6 months, and people normally travel out and come back in. My little information I had earlier on was that he traveled to the UK and came back into the US. As to what happened with his visa, I cannot talk too much about, except that I was told that by November 29th or thereabouts, his visa was no longer valid. And so it meant he was here illegally. His status was he did not have a visa to be in this country. But also hearing from other people, they were making attempts to, if you like, extend his stay or vary the visa to make him remain here until further notice. But I don't know where that request has reached. But before the ICE move in, they are certain that you don't have a visa in this country.
Ambassador to USA, and no Ambassador Victor Smith, area for Ken Ofori Atta, on also issues are also USA and Africa. Ghana no more. Subscribe, comment to comment section. I say for my.